This is Navigating Digital Citizenship and Digital Drama. This presentation is in partnership with ICANN. To understand how much phones play a role in our lives, let's look at some stats. 80% of Americans say they check their phone in the first 10 minutes of waking up, while 40% of Americans check their phone while driving, even though it's incredibly dangerous and careless. 48% of Americans admit openly that they are addicted to their phones. Well, finally, 70% of Americans admit to using their phones on the toilet. And the other 30%, well, they might just be lying. Social media is deeply integrated into daily life. As a whole, our social media usage has continued to increase. 970 million users across all platforms use social media in 2010. Today, that number is well over 4.5 billion. That's an increase of at least 363%. The way we spend our time also defines who we are. Like the old saying goes, you are the company you keep, even online. Some positive outcomes of social media include friendships. I certainly have made friends around the world, a sense of belonging, interest groups that we might not have access to or might be local to a different place, community, support for us and our needs and trials and tribulations we face through life. It gives us a chance to be activists and advocate for things we truly care about. It gives us a place to have self-expression and be creative. And finally, it gives us access to information, essentially having a modern Library of Alexandria right at our fingertips. And now, unfortunately, the negative outcomes of social media, which include excessive usage, a false sense of reality, a loss of meaningful connections, misinformation, social comparison and social stigmatization, cyberbullying, and finally, digital drama. Social comparison is when we compare ourselves to others. When we use social media, we often fall victim to a much larger social comparison. No longer is it enough to keep up with your neighbors, the Joneses, but we also have to keep up with the families in the next town over, across the country, or around the world, that we and our children now compare ourselves to socially. There are 4 types of social comparisons we might use while on social media. The first being a downward negative comparison of scorn, which might lead you to say things like they're just lazy, they don't deserve it. Meanwhile, a downward positive comparison of gratitude might make us consider that things could be worse than they currently are. An upward negative comparison of jealousy will lead us to think that things are not fair. Meanwhile, a positive upward comparison of motivation might lead us to say, my classmate got an A on the test, so I will study harder next time. It could be me. Cyberbullying is when digital devices, sites, and apps are used to intimidate, harm, or upset someone. Unfortunately, 42% of children have been cyberbullied at least once in their life. And for 1 in 4 of our kids, they say that they have been bullied more than once. Why do kids feel it's okay to cyberbully? To answer this, we'll look at the online disinhibition effect, when people behave differently online than they would in real life. Benign disinhibition is when someone would share more online than they would in real life. Those who demonstrate benign disinhibition often form connections to others with similar life experiences and provide a more positive online environment. Toxic disinhibition, however, is the term used when someone would post or say something much meaner online than they would in real life. These disinhibition effects are fueled by online anonymity. When people don't know who we are less worried about real-life consequences for our words and actions. Lag time is a second reason. The time between someone's comment and a reaction will often mean that that person is not around to see the fallout from their comment. The last cause is lack of nonverbal cues. When you can't see body language and facial expressions, it's harder to know when your words are impacting someone. You might be saying something hurtful and keep going because there was no signal that it was having that effect. Digital drama is a term used when people use devices, apps, or websites to start or further a conflict between people. This is seen no differently than encouraging people to fight or instigating a conflict where there is none. Human beings are naturally attracted to drama. Social media allows the drama to reach a larger audience faster and anonymously. This might lead us to ask, how should we respond? One thing that might be helpful in this situation would be for someone to have de-escalated it. To de-escalate it would be to respond with a positive comment or action, ignoring the post, taking away the attention they are seeking, and making them and their negativity insignificant. And finally, to talk offline with the person involved. Try to de-escalate the situation in person. Help them realize that their actions have real-world implications. Let's talk about how to safeguard your personal information online. The very first way is we can learn everything we can about the internet. Being familiar with the internet will not only help you understand the risks, but will also help you talk to your kids. Next, we can talk to our kids about their internet use. Talking to them regularly about how they use the internet. If they're in the habit of talking to you about the internet, they're more willing to come to you if there's a problem. Next, teach your kids to keep personal information private. It's usually a bad idea to post personal information online, such as phone numbers, addresses, and credit cards. If criminals gain access to this information, they can use it to harm you or your family. Next, we can teach our kids to use social networking sites safely. Sites like Facebook allow kids and adults to share photos and videos of themselves, as well as have conversations with friends and strangers. If your kids share something with friends, it's still possible for it to get into the wrong hands. Generally, they should only post something online if they're comfortable with everyone in the world seeing it. Next, we can create and use strong passwords. That means at least 12 characters. Making a password longer is generally the easiest way to increase its strengths. Other ways to increase password strength is to use numbers and symbols throughout the password. Using upper and lowercase letters is also effective in increasing strength of password. Consider using a passphrase of random words so that your password is more memorable, but avoid using common words or phrases. We can make use of multi-factor authentication. Some accounts offer extra security by requiring 2 or more credentials to log into your account. This is called multi-factor authentication. These additional credentials fall into 2 categories. The first being something you have, like a passcode you get via an authentication app or security key. The next, something you are, like a scan of your fingerprint, your retina, or your face. We can choose security questions only we know the answer to. Many security questions ask for answers to information available in public records or online. So, when you can, avoid questions like your zip code, mother's maiden name, or birthplace. Also, avoid using questions with a limited number of responses that attackers can easily guess, like the color of your first car. You can even put in random answers to make guessing more difficult. If you do that, though, you'll have to remember the answers you use. Criminals look for weak points to exploit before software companies can fix them. But updating your software regularly, as soon as possible, whenever a newer version is available, helps make sure you have critical patches and protection against security threats. Be sure to update your security software. Your antivirus or firewall programs must be up to date, whether they came pre-installed or you loaded them onto your device. Update your operating system software. This could be Windows, Apple's, or Chrome, for example. Internet browsers and apps also need updates. Developers provide these updates to address security issues, fix bugs, or add new features. I have been Cody Keeler with ICANN in the Education and Training Department. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would just like some additional information. Thanks for watching.